you've seen the thumbnails, you've seen the titles, you've seen probably other creators' videos on this. I'm late to the party, like always, is what it is. I'm gonna do in 12, and today, Wuwa is dead. The title that everybody's using for their thumbnails, everything. I'm doing it right. I'm not saying I'm any different, right, or anything else like that. I'm just, it's funny that this is happening. Um, and we're gonna talk about it, right? I for one kind of predicted this, and not to like self glaze. I'm sure a lot of people that watch this channel think I do, but like I'm not saying that to like glaze myself. I'm just saying it's like I knew, and I talked about beforehand that the game would have problems, and these problems are just becoming true. Revenue is down, and so on and so on. Right? Like that's just, I'm just saying like it's something that's pretty obvious. I think many people have predicted, so on and so on. Now, of course, because my channel is focused mainly on Zenless now, you guys are gonna see me talk about Zenless. And there's actually a post here that I brought up that is a good talking point that I think this user has brought up, and as well as I want to look at the other games where they are placed, right? So we'll see, because a lot of stuff has been going on in the gacha space, good and bad, right? And well, I've also had a loss of IRL that's restricted my ability to actually create content, so on and so on. It's not a big deal, not the video for that. So number one for the last month of September, Star Rail. Honestly, kind of surprising. Obviously, Fei Zhao is very powerful, and so should be popular. I do think overall her character was also pretty popular because it's, a strong woman and, a character that's just generally cool. Obviously, it was going to do well. And so this is to be expected, but 67 million is higher than I expected, to be honest with you. But this is just more proof of Star Rail constantly popping off, despite the fact that even, again, last time I mentioned, it's in a lower period, like a slower period. Having Fei Zhao release obviously was really good for the revenue, despite the fact that they're still in a slower period and that they're slowing down like for content to kind of prepare for 3.0. And as I've mentioned previously, a big push in 2.7 that they're going to do that's going to lead into 3.0 with, the new meta, new characters, all that good stuff, right? So despite the fact that things in Star Rail aren't super hype, right, and all this stuff, it's not like main story, it's side story stuff and all this, it's still having, very good pull for players, which is obvious from the revenue, right? So that is good to see. The game's popping off as always. However, at least in my opinion, I do think it's the second best gacha out there right now. It's got, some issues. Nothing's perfect, but like, I do think that Zenless is just a better gacha game, which we'll get to. Well, probably not throughout this video, but whatever. It is what it is. Love and Deepspace. It's popping off. And I'm pretty sure this is primarily the Chinese market. I'll have to pull up this list to see. Yeah, it's the Chinese market. Yeah, this was very obvious. I don't think Love and Deepspace has the pull overseas. In fact, most of the revenue here is China. There's only about like 5 mil. Hold on, we have to scroll way down. It's gonna be. Oh wait, do they have a split up in Japan as well? Yeah, okay, so here's Japan at 1.5 mil. Where's Love and Deepspace for global? There it is. 6 mil. Yeah. So yeah, Love and Deepspace absolutely popping off. Again, I don't play that game, but the gameplay actually looked kind of fire. And well, it's as the thumbnail suggests, it's a bunch of dudes, right? So obviously it's gonna do really good. I heard it's like from what I've seen, it's like a dating sim with like, RPG mechanics. Like it actually looks really good. So maybe I should try it out. But that's cool to see that that's popping off, honestly, because it's a game outside of the Hoyo space, which is kind of taken over the gacha space and popularized it, right? That is popping off, right? So that's great to see that there is room to breathe within the actual gacha space as long as you make a good product. And clearly there's enough people that actually enjoy Love and Deepspace, and it's doing really well from, since because of that, right? So that's good to see. Genshin Impact is actually on the rise. So despite the fact that I shared concerns about Notland and its overall success, and other creators have as well, it's actually on the rise in terms of income. and it's been steadily increasing over the past like a month or two. I mean, Natlan's about to go into 1.5, so we've only had to see Natlan overall for like 1 month. But obviously, beforehand, it was, you know, what I think it was 5.8. Oh my god, dude, brain rot. Sorry, I have not been keeping up with Genshin nearly as much as I used to. State of the game, blah blah blah. It is what it is. 4.8, 4.7. What I forget the update, but you get what I'm saying. There was a bit of a lower period in terms of character releases, and other stuff, but obviously it's been picking up since Natlan. It's doing really well. As for the game overall, again, it's not that crazy. Mid, to be honest, but you know, it's Hoyo, right? Revenue up, funny number go up. That's really all I can say there. Nothing too crazy about Genshin, right? Not really much to be said either. AFK Journey, I did actually read the comments last time. It was released in China, and that's what somebody was telling me, which is, you know, obvious in terms of its actual revenue growth. If we actually go over here, if we look, it's gonna be, I don't know where it's actually gonna be because it fell off a little bit. Yeah, AFK Journey. So it's gone from 46 million in China to 16.5 million, which is obviously a big fall off, but obviously this is post its launch in China, so it's gonna fall off a little bit because those launch numbers always get massive numbers as people are getting to the game, they're trying to explore the game, spend money, and so, excuse me, obviously it's gonna have a big surge at the actual launch, right? Because of all these new players and stuff. So it actually makes sense to see that one drop a significant amount. It is still really high though, so clearly there's enough players there active in the game wanting to play it, right? So maybe I should also try AFK Journey. I've seen a lot of people get ads for that, right? And I've seen ads all over it for YouTube, and you know, a lot of people saying it's like actually good. So maybe I should try that game out as well. I'm not too interested in the other games though, personally, just purely from a gameplay perspective, right? I'm definitely more gameplay centered. So, you know, if there's a chance, I definitely won't cover it, but again, it's pushing numbers, right? So can't even hate it, you know, gotta respect the grind. Zenless Zone Zero, the game I would say is the best gacha out right now. 34 million, less than I expected, to be honest with you. I was expecting like 50 million because of Jane Doe, because the past month was the release of Jane Doe, and then Caesar came out like 6 days ago, right? Something like that. Wait, was it 6? No, I think it was 7 days ago actually at this point, because it's the first right now. Yes, like 7 days ago. So Caesar came out like a week ago. And so I was expecting much larger numbers, but you know, it's down. It's lower than what I expected, right? Which, to be fair, I don't think it's really a bad thing, because if Jane Doe wasn't as popular as people online perceived, or at least I perceived, then this is more reflective of the game being at like a neutral point, which I think is pretty good. Because if it's two characters being Qingyi, which it be the end of Qingyi, yeah, it would be the end of Qingyi's banner, and then like all of Jane Doe's banner. This is like the revenue flat for just the one character. Honestly, it's a pretty good standing point, because despite the fact that these live service games and these gacha games are expensive in general, this is still a pretty good like monthly revenue, because if you expand this over 12 months, that's going to be what? That's 100, no, 360, 300 like 370 million dollars like monthly, or per year. Really, really good, right? So yeah, that's more than a lot of games make in their lifetime. Hell, that was like the entire budget of Concord. Well, Concord was like $500 million in terms of budget, but you get what I'm saying. It's like Zenless Zone Zero in the span of like 3 months has made more money than Concord was spent on it, right? Zenless Zone Zero has made like $500 million, right? It came out at the end of the year, so it's not going to make $1 billion like Genshin did in its first year, but actually, no, it's probably going to make more, or like similar to that, because like all these Hoyo games pop off. But like what I'm trying to say here is that despite the fact that this number is lower than I expected, it's still a really good number, and that's reflected in the other users' comments about the overall game and how it's performing in terms of the health of the game and all that stuff. So it's good to see Zenless is still here as expected. It's in the top 5. Although, as what people have previously said, the big 4 gachas, it's looking like there's more than that, right? With the surge of AFK Journey and Love and Deepspace. So again, interesting to see that those are at the top and actually beating out the other Hoyo games, because again, Hoyo was the kings for the gacha space for a while, so it's really interesting. Obviously, Dokkan Battle, it has its mediocre celebration. I started playing Dokkan more aggressively like recently, and yeah, its worldwide download celebration mid as hell. The actual units were really good, but everything else was pretty mediocre. But it's still actually pushing numbers. You can see it's at number 6 right here, right? Which is fantastic to see. It's obviously having its global sync, so its game is going to be synced up with the JP side, and so there's going to be a lot more of unknown releases, and that's going to build more hype because people are going to start spending money instead of saving all their money for the actual big celebrations. So we're going to see, I predict, higher base revenue for Dokkan. We're going to see it in that top 10 range like all the time. Like it was already there in the first place, but it's going to be higher up in that range, I would say, because of the global sync. And so we'll see how that ages, but I do think Dokkan is in a really good place right now overall, and so it's to be expected that's up here in like the 30 millions because I mean it's a Dragon Ball property, right? Like everybody knows Dragon Ball is insanely popular. Naruto Mobile, know nothing about it. This is the horse game, which specifically in this one, and this is actually, so wait, is it only in China? Wait, what? No, it's right. Wait. I thought this game had a global release. Huh. Well, regardless, China version of the game is at 23 million. We have Monster Strike, another 22 million. Fate Grand Order, another popular gacha game, is actually got cut in half. So that's interesting to see. No idea what's going on there. Arc Knights, Nikkei. Honestly, I would expect Nikkei to be pushing more numbers because that's just a Gunner game. Azure Lane, Puzzle Dragons, One Piece Bounty Rush, Nine Light Summoner's War again falling off. People are gonna get mad I say falling off, but yeah, that's what it is. Reverse 1999 actually picking up numbers, so that's good to see. Idolmaster, and then Wuthering Waves, the big one, getting cut in half once again. It's like month after month is getting cut in half once again. And while I've been yapping and portion this video about the other games, and oh my god, Dragon Ball Alright, listen, I don't hate Legends, but like it's not good. Yeah, I'm just gonna end it there. So specifically for Wuthering Waves, because this is the last one I honestly care about. The rest of them are not that big of a deal to me, or I'm not informed on any of the games. To be honest with you, my gacha experience is smaller than a lot of other people's. But with Wuthering Waves here, there's a lot of reasons why it's fallen off in terms of revenue, and I think it has to do with not only the longer patch cycles, but the game itself, right? I don't think Wuthering Waves itself is that good of a game, and a lot of its core issues revolve around the game's economy and its gameplay. Now, granted, they are fixing some of the gameplay issues, which they did in the last patch with like the dodge lockout stuff, right? Which, shout out to those like funny comments, and that's some of the reason why I'm bringing up these talking points. Like the one guy that said, "But I don't know what I'm talking about with Wuthering Waves combat," and then the devs proceed to actually go and change that, which just means I was right. And then there was another one. Honestly, not important. Point is, Wuthering Waves is falling off for multiple reasons, and I think there's key 3 reasons. 1, the patch cycle. 2, a dry patch, because I've seen the conversation around it that people were not super happy about 2.0 or 1.2 for Wuthering Waves. And then the game state, right? The actual game state. And this is like sort of the reason why Genshin and other games are still pushing out. And part of the reason is actually ZZZ. Now, granted, we can talk about the Hoyo games cannibalizing each other, which is obviously going to affect their revenue, because releasing Fei Xiao obviously is going to pull attention away from ZZZ, from Genshin Impact, into her, because she's a super hyped character, right? And so the revenue is all going to spike up there, and vice versa. So if they release the Archon in Genshin's going to be at the top with like, 10 million on, and by the way, this is mobile only. So like, I probably should have started the video with this like to contextualize everything, but this is mobile only, so it doesn't give you a full picture of all the revenue. And I would say there's a lot more PC play for Zenless and like console play for Zenless, as an example, than it is for like Genshin. I'd say Genshin's very mobile heavy because of how casual people are, like how casual audience centered it is. So there's that versus Star Rail, which is kind of like, I would say, a mix. So obviously that's going to affect it in terms of like where the revenue is actually coming from. And so, but all of these games are, if they're on other platforms like PlayStation, like Xbox, like PC, they're obviously gonna be making more money. We wouldn't see it from Sensor Tower. So again, there's that. But specifically mobile Wuthering Waves, the mobile client had a bunch of issues at launch. As far as I know, most of those issues are gone, but I don't know the actual like play state of the game on mobile, right? At least on PC, that's very different. But the game overall, from what I've seen, has been on a decline. And like, I would say a pretty steep decline at that. Like, getting halved each time is pretty steep if we're being real, right? And as I've said, having a longer patch cycle than the other games in your sort of like niche that you're going for, specifically Genshin, right, does mean that people are going to be drawn more towards the one that is seemingly getting more frequent updates, right? Because they're going to want the stuff that's new. It's coming back. It's like it's going through faster. And so obviously you're going to get people on that cycle that it's going to feel like you're going to get more being added to the game versus WoW, right? Not saying that there actually is, but I'm just saying, like, for example, that I just think that like that could be one reason why it's not there. Another reason, again, is the game, like the game economy, because it takes a really long time to level up stuff. And you can argue this for all the games, but from my experience, WoW takes the longest to do anything with. And that obviously hurts the game because players are going to get tired of that stuff and then not want to play, not want to spend money, so on and so on, right? Another reason could be the unit releases. I know Shorekeeper is like insanely OP. You know, people are like, finally, you can put Verena to rest, right? Which, that's a whole nother thing. There's some guy saying Baiji's as good as Verena back in 1.0. Anyways, and so there's a really hype unit release that just came out. And so there's a chance that her revenue didn't transfer completely to this cycle, right? But her banner came out like a couple days ago, you know? So you would expect there to be a higher spike, at least at the start, because normally the launch banners get a really high spike and then it peters off, and then you've got your consistent revenue for that banner, right? So it's like trading stocks, right? It goes up real fast and then drops immediately, right? But this is more reflective of even a new character release didn't do enough to get people to actually play the game, I would say. Because if they were, wouldn't the revenue be higher? Even it's a really strong character, right? People are going crazy for her. I'm seeing a whole bunch of not E1s. What do they call it in that game? R1. I'm seeing a whole bunch of like dupes, right? You're getting the first dupe, getting the second dupe, right? All this stuff. And so I'm honestly surprised that it's not higher. I would expect it to be higher, right? And then again, for the last thing is the actual like game state. I don't know everything that's going on in WoW. And again, part of its revenue is definitely reflective of the one agent being free. Having the one character free obviously will tank its sales. But like overall, it's clear the game is not pulling in money, and in fact is going down. And there's a chance it's even gonna, like, I'm not saying it is, but there's a chance it's losing money because these games are incredibly expensive. If you want to do a like numbers breakdown of terms of like the actual revenue or like money and cost, if we assume it is anywhere like Genshin's cost, which as we know is going to be like, it's like a every 2 quarters $100 million, right? Obviously overall they make way more than that, but that was the estimated operating cost for Genshin Impact. It was like $100 million per 2 quarters, right? So over a year it was $200 million, right? Which obviously Genshin makes a lot more than that, but they constantly push out this content to keep up with that actual cost, right? And that's sort of how it bounces out. With WoW, if we do make the same assumption, if it's even half of that, right? If it's only $100 million, they're not going to make the revenue by the time it's like around to pay the bills, basically is what I'm trying to say, right? Because if you were to average this out, right, let's say 6 million a month times 12 months, you're getting 72 million. This isn't enough to cover half the year's cost in the game. Now, I'm not saying the game costs as much, right? Obviously, there can be different factors. The actual money, like the earnings per person at Kuro Games, right? And then obviously the scope of the game. Like, there's a whole bunch of different factors, and I could spend an hour talking about the game dev stuff because, you know, I'm becoming a game dev, right? I'm going to college for that. But to me, this is more concerning about the game itself because this is a big open world game that they're pushing a lot of content for. They're paying a lot of money for voice actors. They're paying a lot of money for designers, right? Artists for the actual game, right? They're having to produce the trailers and all this stuff and market it, you know, as well as pay for ads and all this stuff. So like, this isn't very reflective of, I would say, a good game state. I'm not saying that WoW is gonna die and not make it to 2.0. I'm thinking it's going to make the 2.0, which, granted, I've heard that 2.0 is coming after like 1.4 or whatever it is. So that's a whole nother thing, right? But to me, surface level looking at it, and again, we could go further on this, it's not looking very good for the game due to the size of the game, right? The game clearly, or not clearly, the game doesn't look like it's making enough money to sustain itself at large, right? Now, again, I don't know how much it is. Obviously, Hoyoverse with Genshin, they spend an insane amount of money on marketing, insane amount of money on other things like collaborations to get these online events. Like they're doing a whole bunch of stuff like music. They are going insane on the music side. In fact, you could probably argue that like half the money spent is on the music alone because of how much music they put into the actual game, right? They do a very heavy push on the actual music side. And so you could obviously take it that like Genshin just spends more money on the actual production side of the game instead of the designing side of the game. 100%, right? But it still doesn't change the fact that comparatively, Wuwa, another open world gacha game, is tanking in its numbers versus Genshin, which is slowly going up, despite a not, I would say not as hype start to a new area. Now, I would expect this to spike up whenever Wuwa releases its new area 2.0, but they've been consistently releasing new content just like Genshin. So it is kind of concerning to see that it's here, right? And I'm not here like hitting on the game. While I did say earlier, I don't think the game's good, right? It obviously is providing enough for people to keep spending money on it. But I'm not surprised it's basically, as everybody's saying, dead, right? I'm not claiming it's dead. Other people are claiming it's dead. I'm just saying it's dying because that's what it looks like it is. I'm not hearing anything hype from like coming from the game besides Shorekeeper, who's insane, right? Giving you massive damage bonuses and all this stuff. So again, I can yap all day about this. I'm keeping it really service level, and I'm definitely like probably talking over myself and stuff, but I just wanted to sort of talk about that, get some context for the game because, you know, all these other things, they look good, doing stuff with the game. The games, you know, are great, all that stuff. And we break it down by region. You can see here that Honkai Star Rail is doing good on both sides, right? Genshin's doing good primarily on global, with Genshin on CN side being a bit lower, right? And if we go further down, Zenless Zone Zero global is at 18 million, with Zenless Zone Zero in China being at 60 million. So it's also in a similar state, pretty even between both sides. AFK Journey on global is 18 million as well. And if we go further down, where we have to go all the way down and down and down to find Wuthering Waves global, it's down to 4 million, which it's been, again, cut in half flat there. And then Wuthering Waves China, it's been cut in half once again to 2.75 million on the CN side, which again, I don't, because here's the thing, the market for these games is much bigger overseas versus it is in the West. And so it's honestly surprising to me to see so many of these games on the Western side actually be surpassing it, specifically for like the Hoyo games. I'm surprised the Western side of the community is surpassing the CN side for the actual revenue, but it's reverse, or excuse me, not reverse. It's the same way with Wuthering Waves. More people over on the Western side of the world are spending more money on Wuthering Waves than CN, right? And CN is like their core community. And so I would say this is not good if their core community is not wanting to spend money on the game, right? Because if their core community, which is the CN side, is spending like half as much as the global side, I think there's a large problem that they're not connecting with their core audience. Now, obviously, that's a game that's trying to go for a wide appeal, right? It's open world game, right? Those traditionally do really well, like everywhere, right? People, it's a big craze, right, in the gaming industry. But comparative to the Eastern market, where mobile gaming is, you know, the big craze, I'm surprised to see that Wuthering Waves is not doing better there, right? And this goes for the other games as well. But there's a pretty big gap here of like 1.3 million. Right? Which it's the gap comparatively is much smaller on some of the other games right now. Zenless, I think, actually has a pretty large gap, actually. Where was it? It was like 18 million for Zenless. Star Rail's like 1 mil. But they're like the 33 mils. Like, again, comparatively, it's not as like large versus Wuthering Waves, and that's what I'm trying to like point out here. Like, it's very interesting. Oh yeah, Honkai Impact 3rd. I forgot that game existed. That game is not good. Wait, Honkai Impact 3rd's making more money? Wait, hold on. I need to trash Honkai Impact 3rd. It's up here. It's at 3 mil. Okay. Honkai Big Third is bad. Yeah, that's all I had to say there. Yeah, and again, I'm gonna just go ahead and apologize in case somebody you weren't expecting this video out of me or like to give this, because I'm probably not giving a new or interesting perspective compared to anybody else. But I just thought I'd give my thoughts that, you know, this game looking good, this game looking bad is basically the video, right? And then here's this person's comment that I thought was pretty good. I thought I'd bring up. ZZZ's current income is a healthy sign for the game. Beyond that, it's more valuable as an individual consumer to be concerned more on the personal enjoyment of ZZZ. I agree with, right? These videos are pretty much just, you know, to get the clicks, right? It's nothing that deep, right? It's whether you like the game or not, right? That's about it. It's competitive gacha market. The fact that ZZZ is in the top means we as players value the experience over many other potential choices and stuck around. This is true. If you haven't been playing ZZZ and for whatever reason you're watching this video or this far in the video, play ZZZ. It's really good. Like, I'm serious. Remember, ZZZ nearly made 10 million in the first month. Okay, this is actually wrong. It made more than this. There was analysts that looked at it and it definitely made like over 300 million. So it destroyed in that first month, right? It releasing on all platforms, obviously people, especially content creators, would play it on PC, not mobile, right? And there's a lot of people that play it on PC, a lot of people that play it on PlayStation because, again, it's simultaneous release. So its income was going to be split, and this is purely off Sensor Tower that it made 10 million. So ZZZ actually made a lot of money in that first month. It destroyed everything in that first month, bro. It gapped everything. It was crazy. How many game releases, let alone gachas, loved? Yeah. Concord releasing to that revenue would have saved it. This is true. ZZZ during its launch made more money than it cost to like make Concord, which is hilarious to think about. That it's like I know this is the second time me saying that, and it's just man, Concord is just so funny. ZZZ is settling into around a 30 million a month as an income floor. And I did mention this earlier. It's interesting to see that Jane didn't spike it higher, but as this guy says, it is going to be looking like more of a floor if a less hype character and I would say hyper character release and sort of average out in terms of like income for that month. It's going to be like this. Now, granted, that's like the end of Chingy's banner, but still, right? I would say that does look pretty reasonable, and it's actually really good that it's making this, because if we compare Wuwa 6 mil to, well, you know, 30 million a month, it's a lot more, you know. So yeah, it's looking really good. This is about the same as Honkai Star Rail and Genshin on lull patches. True. ZZZ should be more popular, but there's an absurd amount of overhate for the game. But that's still a good place to be at 30 million a month. A lot of games wish they can make that much money. Especially this means the subscription revenue Battle Pass City Fund is helping keep the lights on, assuming that stays suitable for 360 million a year, right? That's good enough even by non-gacha standards, which it is, because 36 million a year over, I don't know, 10 years. $3 billion. All right, now you can buy Bungie. Anyways, as a day one monthly pass player, I really enjoy ZZ. The amount I've spent, I'm more strategic, low spender, like only wishing on character banner and skipping on the weapons. I've gotten 3 characters I really wanted: Ji-Yuan, Jane Doe, and Caesar, combined with the free units such as Nicole and B-Bin. I've been able to clear in-game content with even my average skills. There are many reasons in ZZZ for me to stick around and spend, even by small gacha standards, and by monthly income. Many players feel the same way too. This is true. ZZZ is doing really well, and the game itself is actually really good. And so, in terms of it like getting less revenue than the last month, I'm not concerned at all. I do think everybody should be playing ZZZ. It is quite literally the most overhated game I've played, and I play Destiny 2, so I know what hate looks like, right? At least in Destiny 2, I can say it's kind of fair, because people just get really heated about feeling robbed out of their money, you know. But this is a free game, right? The only thing it asks from you is your time, which is debatably free, right? But that's gonna be it for the video. I've already spent way too long talking about this. And to like overall sum up my thoughts, Star Rail is doing good, right? Better than expected, to be honest. ZZZ doing good. It should be doing better. I do think more people should be putting, you know, like playing the game, because it's really good. It's clear that they put a lot of work into it. And this isn't me like shilling for Hoyoverse, because At the end of the day, I don't really care. I'm just playing it because I have fun with it, right? And I think it's really good. And so yeah, that's really it. Like I think people should be playing Z to Z. And I do genuinely think it's the best gacha out right now. The 1.2 story really good. And honestly, I just think overall its content and what it offers is way better than the other gacha games out in the market right now. Like just being completely serious, right? And having played the other, I would say top gachas. Granted, I haven't played AFK Journey and Love and Deepspace. Maybe I'm missing out, but at least in my opinion, it deserves to be number one. But I think it's totally comfortable where it's at, right? Dokkan Battle, it's popping off, and then Wuwa's falling off, right? So, yeah, tell me your thoughts down below. I don't think I provide anything unique to this video, but I just thought I'd talk about it. That it's interesting to see that Wuwa is kind of falling off, right? And that ZZ is seemingly really solid, right? So yeah, tell me your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitch. Yeah, that's really about it. See you.